Right, I'm going to talk a little bit about business models in the free software industry, but I'm going to deal with it in a very specific way. If you've attended other talks about business models, you've probably heard about different kind of models for pure players like service-based revenues or freemium models or dual licensing or whatever. But I'm not going to go into theory of business models. I'm just going to give my company as an example because I'm not into theory, and the only example I know really well is from our own company. So we're going to deal with my company, which is a very small company, and whatever I'm going to tell you, it's only about our experience. So you might use pieces of our experience, but our experience is not good for everybody. It's not good for a very large company, or it's not good for a hardware company that would have other activities on top of free software. So do not try this at home. It's really specific to our own company. Who are we? I guess almost nobody in this room knows Makina Corpus. We're a very small company based here in Toulouse. That's why I call us a boutique company. We are really a niche player, and we deal only with free software. We don't do anything else. We design and develop software, mainly web or mobile based, and we deal mainly with professional services, professional applications. We don't do a lot of consumer applications. We've got a very, very simple business model. We work and we get paid for it. So there is nothing really specific about it. For instance, we develop custom software and we get paid for the custom software we deliver. We provide support for our own software or for community-based software, and we get paid for it. We carry out training in different technologies. We are mainly a Python company. I'm sorry to be here at an Eclipse Day without being a Java specialist, but we are a Python company. And we provide a lot of training, for instance, for Django, which is a Python framework. And we get paid for it. So we deal only with free software. We use them, we produce free software, but we are not that different from any kind of company. So what kind of differences are there between our company, our business model, and a standard company providing professional services with proprietary software? There are a few differences. In our case, we think that the major differences are where we spend our money. So software. We are a software company. We produce software and we contribute to free software. Obviously, we do it out of the revenue we get from our customers. So we have two ways of producing software. The first way is to get paid to produce free software, to design it and then give it back to the community. The second way is we set apart sometimes during the course of the month to produce free software, to give back to the community. Giving back to the community is about producing lines of codes, obviously, but also producing documentation, producing trainings, dealing with any kind of activities that is going to be beneficial to the open source community we're involved in. I haven't said much about the company, but the company has been created 11 years ago. And at the very beginning, we were a pure Python company. Now we deal with a few other languages. You might have seen Talend today, that was present earlier on. We also work with Talend, for instance. But we tend to be really specific in where we invest our time, and we invest most of our time in giving back to a few free software, mainly community-based software. We don't work a lot with editors like Tenant. We tend to work mainly with our own software or with community-based software. So this is not a revenue model, this is a spending model. We spend time and we give it back. This is something where we have to give money, give time, and it costs us a lot. And this is something you won't find with many professional services companies. We know, we meet a lot of them. Not that many contribute back to the communities. A lot of them work with free software, but do not give back. We do it, and it costs us money. So where do we save? I'm afraid we save on marketing budget. Our marketing budget this year is about zero, and it has been zero for the last 11 years. We're really bad at marketing. Maybe we should invest a little bit more, but at the very moment we don't do it. Just to give you a few examples, we have probably the largest team specializing in Python in France, and apart from our customers, nobody knows it. We are probably the largest free software company here in the region, Midi-Pyrénées, in the southwest of France, and nobody knows us. So basically, we are not really good at marketing. We do not invest in marketing. And I'll get back to that because as we deal with free software, it doesn't matter that much. Another point where we do not invest sales. We do not have a sales team. We do not have people dedicated to sales. So part of our business model is not spending money. On the other hand, who do we work for? We work for the United Nations. We work for MasterCard. We work for Mitsubishi. We work for NATO. And we work for a lot of French companies, probably, I would say, 1/3 of the top 50 largest companies in France. So how come that without investing in marketing, without spending money in sales, we manage to have that many customers? Well, it's down to free software. Because we have two ways of gaining new customers, or actually 3 ways. The first one is we contribute to different communities, we contribute to different software, and specialists dealing with this kind of software identify us as being experts. So just to give you an example, we have most of our team members are core committers in major Python projects. I don't know if you've heard about the Pyramid project. Well, no. It's a major Python project. We are also involved in the Plum project, which is another Python project. And our team members are core committers, which means that they've been recognized by the community as being highly valuable contributing members. Which means that whenever somebody is looking for a Python expert, it's very likely that they will encounter the name either of our experts or of our company. And that's one of the ways we gain new customers. They are looking for experts. They have a quick look at who is expert in specific technologies, specific software, and they get back to us. Another way we have to gain customers is that we've written a few open source software ourselves. They are not major software, just as Eclipse. We've contributed, for instance, to the ACDO project, which is itself built on the Eclipse project. But whatever we do, we publish it and we give it back. A few people try it, and in a few cases, they need assistance. And who better than the author of the software is able to provide assistance? So that's one of the ways we gain new customers. They install our software, they start using it, and to get expertise, to get consulting services, to get more training, to get information. To To give you an example, currently we have a software that is used to build professional applications within companies. It has been downloaded thousands of times, and we haven't kept a track of who has downloaded the software. Actually, anybody can download it. We do not track the email address. We do not track the IP address. We don't know who uses it. And from time to time, there is a customer somewhere in the world who calls us and asks us for services. So, for instance, we now work for the state of Hawaii in the United States. We now work for the United Nations World Food Program that is based in Nairobi in Kenya. And there was no way for us, with any kind of marketing or sales expenditure, to identify those customers. There was no way that we would one day get in the office and say, well, today we're going to cold call the United Nations and ask them whether they want our services or whether they need our expertise. There is no way for a very small French company to go and get the Hawaiian state or go and get any kind of Canadian customers or identifying them. All that is very complicated. But what happened to us is that through our software, because it was freely available, anybody could get it, anybody could use it, a few of the users started asking us to provide services and starting providing turnover for us. So that's a major part of our business model, is that we do not invest in sales, we do not invest in marketing, and we let the customers come to our company. And that's one of the reasons I said this might not fit everybody. This might not fit a larger company, this might not fit a company that has a different structure, especially a different cost structure. In our case, it just happened. It's not something we've decided. In 2001, when I funded the company, we had a few customers already, mainly telecom operators, and we started working for them. And it was obvious for the team that we wanted to produce free software. That's what we were really interested in. And we started publishing it. And we discovered, without building any kind of theory about whether it was going to be economically satisfying, whether it was going to be profitable, we discovered that people come to us and ask us for services. I don't know whether this is a business model that is sustainable if you want to grow your company. We, from the very beginning, we decided that we would remain a small niche player. So there are less than 50 people working in the company. But still, for this kind of size, or for departments specializing in free software, I think that it's a way of gaining traction in the market, just letting the customer come. I'm quite sure that if we invested a little bit more in marketing, maybe people would know us better, maybe people would trust us better, and maybe we could grow. But at the very moment, that's not something we really need. So that's for us, the main driver of our turnover is really the fact that we are visible within communities, we are visible because of our contribution to free software, and it drives revenue by itself. If you start doing that today, one of the questions could be, how long will it take before my first customer, my first paying customer, will sign a contract? In our case, it has never happened for any kind of new software that we had to wait more than 6 months. So usually within 6 months after we've published the software, there is always a paying customer somewhere in the world that gets back to us and asks us to provide services. As I started mentioning where we work, we currently work in 16 different countries. Mostly in Western Europe, obviously, but we also work in Japan, we work in Southeast Asia, we work in Africa, we work in America, and we do not have salespeople flying there. It's just the customers sending us emails and asking us whether we want to work with them. So that's something that is really original in the free software for free software players is the fact that you do not need the same cost structure as you would need if you were a standard company. For us, contributing to software is the same as building a business card instead of or building an advertising campaign. It's a cost. That's why I've started by saying that we invest in software, but the revenue is linked to this investment. The more we contribute to communities, the more we gain customers. Another very important point, and that's really something we've relied on for the last 11 years, is down to how we recruit people and how we manage people. So our recruitment budget is nil, the same as our marketing budget. We do not invest time in going to different exhibitions, in trying to advertise that we are recruiting. We do not spend time nor budget on this kind of activities. How do we recruit? How do we attract people? Usually we do it only by being visible within communities and by attracting people in our team. The company was created back in 2001 in Paris, and we identified in the French Python community a few experts here in Toulouse. And we've started discussing with them about the work they did, how they did it, whether they enjoyed being in the companies they were working for, and they were working for professional services companies in Toulouse. And we built a relationship with them. And after 2 years, the leader of this group from Toulouse told us that he was a bit fed up with his current company. He wanted to leave the company because the company, following different shareholder changes, the company didn't want to invest in open source software anymore. So they wanted him to work on proprietary software. Basically, he was not willing to do it, and he asked us whether we had any job opportunities for him. And we said, well, not, you're somebody we know, we've seen how you code, we've used your software, so why not come and work for the company? And that's how we opened an agency or opened a subsidiary here in Toulouse. And the team in Toulouse grew so much that we ended up having our headquarters here in Toulouse. So the way we built the team is really by identifying experts in the community, being sure they share the same values with us, and recruiting them. It might not seem really important. You were maybe expecting from me that different recipes to gain new revenues or to gain new customers, but the fact that we do not spend a lot of money recruiting people is really part of the profitability of the company. Most of the people we've recruited in the past are still working with us because they've been in touch with the company, they like the values of the company, and they are really involved in different communities, and we give them time, we give them the opportunities to work in the open source communities. So the second part of the financial issues about teams is that we keep people and we keep them happy. And most of the people who join the company even if it was a very small company, even if it's not very well known. They join us because they like what we do, and they like the fact that we allow them to contribute back to free software. There are a lot of professional services companies using free software, but not giving back, or not allowing their employees to spend time giving back to the communities. Within Makina Corpus, that's something you have to do. If somebody doesn't contribute back, if somebody doesn't give code back to the community or doesn't publish any code, we are not interested in keeping this person. So that's really one big issue, one big part of our business model is to attract people that share values with us, and then to keep them. And having talked with a lot of competitors, I think that it makes big financial differences. Not spending money attracting people, and not spending money making them happy. They're happy because of what we do, because we do free software, and they share the same values. I don't have much time left, but anyhow, these were the main points I wanted to tell you. Today we're a small company working from the southwest of France, and we have customers worldwide. We do not spend any money getting those customers, getting them to sign with us, so that's one really important point. And we use also the fact that we are visible in the communities as a way to convince new customers. From time to time, we meet a few customers. For instance, we work for a very large online betting company, and they've started working with us mainly because they knew that we were competent, they knew that we had a skill set that was useful for them. And they knew that because of our contributions and because of our activity in the communities. And the last point, and then I'll finish with that, is that last year, about 1/4 of our turnover came from free software communities directly. By this I mean that people working on different projects heard about commercial opportunities and gave us the information. So about 1/4 of our turnover was purely down to the fact that a few nice people in open source communities, free software communities, knew that we were able to provide services and knew of a few opportunities and made the link between these opportunities. And this is something you rarely see with proprietary softwares, where the competition is a bit stronger or different. But for us, being part of the community, being nice to the community, has a very high payback. If we could generate 1/4 of our turnover just by being nice to people, by giving back to code, we think it's a really profitable investment. And I'll stop here.
Questions? Maybe one or two. What roughly the amount of your turnover?
Roughly 3 million euros. Yes. So as I said,
50 people?
We are less than 50 people. When I said less than 50, it's actually a bit more than 30 people.
What's roughly the percentage of time people spend committing and on the paid contract?
Okay. We try to work it out every year to know exactly. So I don't know if you heard the question. The question was how much of our time is spent contributing to free software or coding for free software. We estimate that it's roughly 20% of our time. And it has a consequences that we tend to be a bit on the expensive side for our services. Because obviously somebody has to pay for 1/5 of the time being spent on non-contract activities. Which means that when we invoice our time, when we invoice our work, we are a bit more expensive than standard proprietary companies.
I have a question. You said that you don't invest in recruiting, you simply stay at home and then suddenly a nice guy who you happen to know knocks at your door and say, I'm interested in working for you. And then you say, I know that you're good in Python or in the needs you have, you are hired. Now, more or less that was the Now, the situation I envision is you are hired, you have a paying customer, the United Nations or whoever, but to fill in that service, you need people with specific talents. You need people who, I don't know, SQL. Your people is not good enough at SQL to do what you are being asked to. How do you solve that situation?
Okay. So the question is, if we happen to work on a contract where we do not have the right skill set,
yes.
How do we recruit the right person? So there are two answers to this question. The first one is, if it's a temporary need, if it's something, a skill set that we do not plan to use in the future, then we will subcontract. We will identify the right person and subcontract to them. We work, and I'll talk a little bit about our network, but we work within a network of free software experts, and we know roughly who is good at what. If it's a skill set that we do not have, but we forecast that we will need in the future, then usually we try within our network to identify who would be willing to work with us. And as we tend to be in contact with a lot of different people, usually it doesn't take much time to identify who is the right person or who the right persons might be. And then we contact them and we ask them whether they would like to work with us. I think it's a model that cannot grow a lot. If we decided, if we had the opportunity to double the size of the company, we couldn't go on this way because it wouldn't be recruiting just people we know or just people we've heard about in the past would not allow us to invest quickly and to grow quickly. So this worked only because we have a very small size and we tend not to grow. We do not have a growth strategy, and that's why I said our way of seeing our business model is really linked to the fact that we do not want to grow a lot.
Right.
Okay. Just a very, very quick point. I was talking about our network. We work here in Toulouse. We've rented a very large office and we share the office with other free software companies. And we also have a subsidiaries in Nantes, in Brittany, in the west of France. And we've done the same. We've rented 1,000 square meters. And we share the office space with other companies. Some of these companies are specializing in technologies that we do not master. And we tend to share a lot about prospects, about potential customers, about how we see the market. That's another point. I didn't mention it because it's not directly linked to the way we generate revenues, but it helps us being present in the market and identifying the right people or the right customers. And I think my time is out.
Thank you.